Hello and welcome to this week's episode of 25 Live at Home. We are so glad that you joined us. This week we are talking a lot with our families and talking about a particularly difficult topic. We're talking about gun violence and the way it impacts a lot of us, our everyday lives. It may not directly impact us, but it might impact the way we think about our lives and operating through it. We as a children and family ministry team here at St. Andrew have been thinking a lot about children's safety when they are in our space. And so we've been exploring this topic, and we're so excited actually to welcome in a guest speaker this week to talk to us about it. One of the things she's asked us to do is to read a book to help you all understand kind of what the things she'll talk about. So our story today is called Sparking Peace. It's by Teresa Pecinovsky and Hannah Rose Martin. It's a really wonderful book. It's illustrated by Gabor Utumo, but it's just a really cool book, and it's one of the programs that has actually helped inspire our guest speaker and something she may talk a little bit more about. So we're going to read the story, and then at the very end, we'll have some discussion questions along with it. So, Sparking Peace. The day my friend rings our doorbell holding a soccer ball, my dad nods, one hand on the newspaper, the other on his coffee mug. We race outside, passing the checkered ball until I strike it so hard that it soars. Up, over, right into my neighbor's back window. Smash. You need to make it right, Dad says. He talks to our neighbor, Miss Winifred. It is decided that I will help her out in the backyard. The first day I go over, Miss Winifred scowls at me. You've got your work cut out for you, kid. She points to the yard filled with old appliances, broken furniture, and who knows what else. I'm gonna find out what else. Every day, I find new things like glass milk bottles, an old bicycle, rotting wood, a dial-up telephone. Slowly, bit by bit, I clear the yard. Miss Winifred doesn't say much. I keep quiet, too. After 2 weeks, it starts to look less like a junkyard and more like a backyard. Miss Winifred is still quiet, but after she sees the yard cleared out, she leaves me a glass of lemonade on the back porch. The next day, Miss Winifred shows up wearing boots and gloves. My face looks like a puzzle. Might as well turn this into something useful, she explains. We're going to make a garden. The first step is pulling the grass and weeds by hand. It takes a long time, and my hands hurt afterward. We had bags of compost making a thick layer on top of the ground. That weekend, Dad takes me to an event that he reads about in the newspaper. We join a group of people circled around a roaring fire. I ask Dad what it's for. It's called a forge. He tells me the person using it is a blacksmith. I still don't understand why we are here, so I watch. The blacksmith pulls something out of the forge with his tongs. It is so hot. It is glowing like the sun. He carries it to another large piece of metal. The anvil, Dad says. The blacksmith grabs a hammer and begins hitting the glowing piece hard against the anvil. Sparks fly. In my chest, I feel the sound of the hammer to the metal. The glow disappears. The blacksmith puts it back in the forge. I ask Dad what it is. He thinks for a minute, watching the forge. It is something sad, something that breaks our hearts. Out of the forge it comes, glowing just like before. He begins to hit it again. This time, it looks different. It's changing. As the blacksmith works, I see the faces of people around me. They are sad. Some are crying. The blacksmith invites them to take the hammer and to swing. Sparks fly. Again, I feel it hit my chest. I watch the metal go in and out of the forge again and again. This thing that brings sadness and breaks heart. Change, heat, change, heat. Then I see someone I know. It's Miss Winifred. She grabs a big hammer, the one bigger than the blacksmith offers. She swings She swings again. I feel it this time, all the way down to my toes. She begins to cry as she hits the metal. The blacksmith nods to Miss Winifred. Well done, he says. It's finished. As Miss Winifred walks back to the group, our eyes meet and I wave. The blacksmith grabs a piece of wood and attaches it to the changed metal. I wonder what everyone has made. He holds it up, and I see what it's become. It's a garden tool, a shovel, something that isn't sad, something that doesn't break hearts. Instead, it turns over dirt and helps bring new life. Suddenly, I get an idea. I tug on Dad's shirt and pull him down to whisper in his ear. He listens and smiles at me. Then he walks over to talk to the blacksmith. It is a really good idea. The next day, I head over to Miss Winifred's to keep working on the garden. I knock on the door, and she pulls back the curtain at the window and points for me to go around the back. She doesn't notice what I've brought. I walk around and stand next to the fresh compost we spread. Miss Winifred comes out and shows me all the vegetable plants and seed packets she has. Then I pull the shovel out from behind my back and hand it to her. I smile. I see tears in her eyes, but they look like happy tears. We bend down together and begin to work in the garden. So this is a wonderful story. It's inspired by a group called Raw Tools, Inc. It's a nonprofit organization that turns guns into garden tools. They continue to work and figure out ways to solve problems. They ask folks, what if we made a commitment to solve our problems without guns and violence? By using weapons to make garden tools and other hand tools, they are creating a symbol for change and are asking for others to participate. This book is a wonderful resource, and we hope that you all will get a chance to take advantage of it. We are excited to be able to add it to our children's library here at St. Andrew. It has wonderful tips for talking about gun violence. Right? It talks about being direct, not making assumptions about what your kids know, and giving children the chance to respond in their own time and place. So as we listen to our guest speaker this week, we hope you all will really enjoy it. We hope it'll spark some great conversation. So you all will come back and we'll talk about the discussion questions from the book.
This week we have a special guest named Hiatt, and she will be sharing with us a little bit about gun safety. But I'm going to turn it over to her mostly. So can you just tell us a little bit more about yourself and why you have an interest in gun safety?
As she mentioned, my name is Hiatt. I grew up in Iowa City and attended First Presbyterian Church. I joined the Army Reserves while I was still in high school and ended up serving in the Persian Gulf War with the military police. So I learned about gun safety in the military, and it taught me to take gun safety very seriously. I really enjoy being of service to others, and sharing gun safety information with parents is just how I share my faith in action.
As a follow-up, can you tell us a little bit about what ways you are involved in empowering parents and children to create a safer world?
I've been involved with an organization, a nonprofit organization called Be Smart for Kids for about 8 years. And this program encourages parents to ask about secure storage in homes that their children might go to visit, and to include firearm access in safety conversations with their children. I served on the Presbyterian Peace Fellowship, and we helped the Presbyterian Church USA form a partnership with Be Smart for Kids. And I've also been involved in local efforts that resulted in Johnson County and the Iowa City Community School District in becoming local partners with the Be Smart for Kids program.
It's especially important with the schools. So what are some resources and ways in which parents and children can learn more about these organizations, like the Guns to Gardens that is spoken about in this Sparking Peace book that we will be reading?
So the Presbyterian Peace Fellowship has a devoted group working on prevention efforts. and resources can be found online at presbypeacefellowship.org. The Guns to Gardens program is a partnership between the Presbyterian Church USA and a blacksmith organization called Raw Tools. And raw, incidentally, is the word war spelled backwards. They embrace the scripture from Isaiah chapter 2, verse 4, that reads, "They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks." And I've hosted an event where firearms were surrendered by the owners, and we cut them up with powerful saws. Then we shipped these parts to Raw Tools South in the Asheville area of North Carolina, and they forged them into gardening tools and art pieces. And this tool right here was forged from some of the gun parts that we shipped to them. You want to take a look at that? They also create art pieces. These were metal pieces that were forged into hearts. So just very unique and moving pieces.
This is heavy.
Yeah, it's really
That one is heavy. I have another one here that I purchased, and some of them are just really beautiful art pieces with some of the work. And this was done by a blacksmith, and he had this came from his personal rifle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that, the carvings.
As part of our episode this week, we will include discussion questions from the book so that families can have these discussions together at their convenience. What advice can you give to families on how they can be proactive about their safety and their children's?
Yeah, everyone has a role to play in keeping children safe. It's always an adult's responsibility to prevent unauthorized access to guns, not a curious child's responsibility to avoid them. So I would encourage parents to visit besmart4kids.org, and 4 is FOR. There are several resources available online, and they offer virtual trainings every month. And I've shared some of our co-branded materials with you that'll be here. And if you'd really like to do a deeper dive on this issue through a faith lens, I would encourage parents to check out the brochure that's based on the overture, an overture calling for action so that children may live free from gun violence. And this overture was passed unanimously by the PCUSA General Assembly. So the Presby Peace Fellowship website has the brochure on gun violence prevention in children, and we'll soon have a program based on this content, much like they do for the Guns to Gardens. There's I think it's a 6-week program that people can participate in how to host a Guns to Gardens event.
Well, yeah, and we will have these brochures available for any families who are interested. So we will make those available and let you know where to find them.
And she also provided us a book from the presbytery. We'll have that for you all as well if you would like to peruse it at your convenience.
Yeah, congregational toolkit.
Yep, congregational toolkit, and then the Sparking Peace book that Thomas will read. We will also, I think, put into the church library, so everybody can have access to that as they'd like to read that on their own. So our last question is one that's highly important to me as a mom. What conversations should families have with their children about gun safety while they're at a friend or a family member's house?
Yeah, making gun safety part of the normal safety conversation you have with your children is really, really important. And with younger kids, keep the language simple. For example, if you see a gun, don't touch it. Tell an adult right away. Tell children not to touch a gun, even if it looks like a toy. And so many of them do, because they can be, printed from a 3D printer, and so they may actually look like a toy. And just really assure children that they'll not get in trouble if they tell an adult that they've seen a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important, don't have the conversation only once. Talk to them frequently, just as you would about other crucial safety issues.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure they understand that any situation where there's an unsupervised gun is a dangerous situation. I think it's really important to remember that talking to children about guns is a precaution, not a guarantee of safety. And one of the studies referenced in the materials found that young children who go through a week-long gun safety training are just as likely as children with no training to approach or play a handgun when they find one.
So those reminders are important, but we also need to take other precautions as well. So.
Yeah, and as our kids get older, that conversation will change a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to your children about guns flyer has more information about how that conversation changes as they get older.
That makes sense.
As children's brains continue to develop, they understand things in different ways, which is why only one conversation is not going to be enough. It can be the same for any topic. We've had to have more than one topic on adoption for our girls who are both adopted, and they don't understand certain things. And they do understand things as they get older, mm-hmm. and will have more questions. So that will be the same with kids and guns. Their understanding when they're younger is very different than as they get older.
Right.
Well, thank you very much for your time today, Temple. We really appreciate you coming down here. This is a very important conversation to have and to kind of get some more resources on ways that we can, turn this into actual action and helping ourselves and keeping everyone safe. So
yeah, happy to do so. And if there are any follow-up questions or requests for meeting dialogue, I'm happy to be part of that.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. So here are our discussion questions from Sparking for Peace. I wonder, what would you do if you broke a neighbor's window? How might you feel? I noticed a picture of Miss Winifred with a young child along with the toys and old bike in her yard. I wonder who the little child is. What do you think might have happened to the child? I wonder what the dad's newspaper says and why all these people are gathering together. What do you notice about the faces of the people in the story at the event? I wonder what the blacksmith has in his hand. What do you think it might be? What do you think Miss Winifred is feeling when she hammers the metal? Do you think she feels that way? What is something you can do to spark peace at home, at school, within your community, and in the world? All it can take is one little spark to bring peace and create change. You do not need to do big things to make change. It can be something small. We are never too small to make a big difference. What is a big problem you can think of? How can you use your imagination to create another way to look at that big problem? We hope you've enjoyed this time reading this book with us and listening to our guest speaker. We hope it sparks some great conversations, and we hope to see you back here next time. Bye-bye.